Yo, what's going on, boys? It is week 5 of Path of Profitability. It's Thursday tonight, but I want to talk about my trade from Tuesday. I had a recap from my trade yesterday, and then I did not trade today. So, obviously, it's Memorial Day on Monday, so no trade that day. And then, yeah, break even on Tuesday, small win yesterday, no trade today. So, I'm just going to talk about my break even first on Tuesday. So I don't have a picture of like any of the other time frames other than the 1 minute, but I executed on the 1 minute, so it's kind of all that's relevant. I don't remember exactly everything that happened with the kind of the order flow here, but I'll just go off purely what I remember. I remember coming into open, I had a bullish bias, but I wanted to see, and we had targets above, but I wanted to see us pull lower into. I can't remember what it was. It might have been a 30 minute to move us higher. But we were already trading through some high time frame PD arrays from what I remember, so I don't think we needed that 30 minute. But typically, I just like to see that manipulation off open, like into a high time frame gap. It kind of just gives me that confirmation that we're going to move in my intended direction towards my draw. But instead, we just pumped up off open on this day. Like I said, I think we're already trading out of a high time frame PD array, so we didn't really need to grab more liquidity. Like I said, I just always like to see that. But yeah, we pumped up off open, and we failed to. Oh my gosh, you guys hear my dog right now? This dude is going fucking crazy. If you want a peaceful household, don't get a little dog. Do not get a dog that is 2 pounds. He is actually gonna probably ruin your just everything. Sleep, patient. Actually, it's helped my patience because I don't yell at him anymore. But anyways, we pumped up off open. We did not take our draw. We basically edged it. I think we edged it by like 15 or 20 points here, whatever this was. We edged our high, just putting in more low resistance liquidity. Stacked highs. I like to see that. And since we're trading out of a high time frame PD array, I wanted to see us form a 5 minute on the way up for us to trade back into, and then react out of it. And that is what happened. We formed this 5 minute here. This is just a 1 minute chart, like I said, but formed the 5 minute here. We consolidated a bit, traded back into it. I wanted to use this as, a. Are you serious, bro? Are you serious? Oh my gosh. What's your issue, bro? Oh. Look at this guy, man. Yeah, we pumped up off open, failed to take the high, put in low resistance liquidity, stacked highs up here, trailed into or pulled back into our 5 minute. And then I was just looking for a 1 minute inversion off this. Let's see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. There we go. So as you guys can see, we failed to inverse this 1 minute off this first candle here. We wicked out of it pretty aggressively and then got a down close candle. Honestly, I would not be surprised if some people entered here. It's a complete pattern trade like shorts, but it doesn't surprise me. I've seen some crazy things. Yeah, so we failed to inverse this gap. I wanted to just enter off this entry here, but instead we wicked out of it, trailed lower, still held the 5 minute, but we just stop rated here and put in another low. I could have taken a 30-second inversion off this. I've seen a lot of people do that, but ultimately I just don't really like taking 30-second inversions. They're not my style. I've taken them before, and I don't know. It's too low time frame for me, honestly. I feel like those candles just move way too quickly. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the 30 seconds, so I typically tend to avoid them. But I wouldn't blame if someone took a 30-second here because, we traded down, we put in this low, we failed to inverse, put in this high, and then we stop rated, putting in more high resistance liquidity. It makes sense. We remanipulated this low, stop rated, put in more high resistance down here. It would have made sense to take a 30-second here at just the lowest time frame, right? But I chose to wait. I chose to hold until the 1 minute closed. So I didn't get into here, and I had a massive stop loss because of it. I had like a 60-point stop loss. So I just targeted a 1-to-1. I'm pretty sure this was at all-time highs. So literally this was just going nowhere. It was literally just targeting a 1-to-1. So it wasn't the best position, but like complete A+ setup. I would have liked it a lot better if I got this 30-second, but like I said, I just don't trade 30 seconds. I don't usually feel the most confident with them, and they haven't worked the best for me in the past. So like I said, to A+ setup, I executed, I did well in my execution. I was patient and waiting for this. And, I went break even once we hit this internal high here. I think I went break even once we closed above this high. But yeah, they got stopped out pretty quick. So for next time, I will consider taking a 30-second here. If we fail to get that inversion, stop raid, and then have another clean reaction. Like look at the rejection wick on this 1 minute. Like I don't know, this is pretty clear that we don't want to go lower, right? We're still in this 5 minute. We're respecting it. If we stop raid and get a super clean 30-second out of it, I'm not opposed to taking that. So it's just good data for the future. And I would have hit full TP if I took that 30-second. So it sucks, but like, bro, I was just following my rules and I got that data for the future. I will be taking this 30-second in the future. If, like I said, we fail to inverse, we stop rate, and then we get a very clean V-shaped 30-second inversion out of it. Off that stop rate, putting in another high resistance low. I'm going to take that, bro. I'm going to take that. And then I might, go break even once we hit that high inside of the 1 minute that we failed to inverse. So just for future, I will be, probably taking that. And I liked the trade idea. But, yeah, just in the moment, I wasn't confident with the 30-second. As soon as I turn my OBS on. I'll go through my fades today. I faded 3 different trades today. I journaled them. I started journaling my fades. I don't know if I mentioned that in my last video. I started journaling my fades. And I feel like it's helped me a lot. I feel like, it's allowed me to see, these setups that I don't have the most confidence in, regardless of if they play out or not. It just allows me to kind of see, I guess the progress in fading trades, right? I was struggling with pattern trading like pretty much all of April. I was pattern trading pretty badly, and bro, it was just like it was affecting me mentally because like I don't know, I take a lot of, I don't want to say pride. I don't like pride, but I'm very passionate about trading, right? And when I was just taking these pattern trades, poor trade, just losing it all the time, it's like, bro, it was actually hard on the mental. I'm not even gonna lie, but I've been trading better this month. I tilted last week on one day, and that's really the only like thing that has been that's gone against me. A couple mistakes, but overall my trading's been good. But ever since I started journaling my fades, bro, I feel like my trading has just went like just the way I read the markets is so much better. I feel so much more confident in how I'm reading the markets lately. And bro, honestly, I've never felt so confident in how quickly I know everything is going to come to me. All my goals, everything that I put my mind to, I know I'm literally right there. And I've never been this confident in like achieving it. I know it's literally right there for me to grab. And I just got to keep, just executing every day and following my rules, doing what I need to do. But yeah, I've never felt so close. And that is just an insane feeling, a beautiful feeling that I'm super, super grateful for. So it's never taken for granted. Where the fuck did this picture just go? You guys literally just saw that. That was the most insane thing ever. Okay, I guess I would rather have that anyways. Okay, yeah, let's get into my fades today. So the first fade of the day was this short off a Judas swing off open into quick shorts here. Now, I saw this trade play out live, dude, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of taking trades that early in a market open. Judas swings are kind of weird for me. I feel like I'm probably about 50% on Judas swings in my trading career, like right off open, right? But this was a good one, bro. We traded into a 30-minute. We took this high, put in an internal SMT, traded into a 30-minute, like I said. So had that internal SMT out of the 30-minute. We did get really weird closure with the 1 minute inversion, so that was one of the main reasons I faded it. But also I just had a bullish bias. We had draws to the upside and the downside, so I was kind of neutral, but I was definitely leaning more bullish. I wanted to see us trade lower into the 30-minute gap that we formed to trade higher. So I wasn't sure, how much liquidity we would grab. So that was another reason for me fading it. In all like hindsight, I could have taken this and just went break even super quickly, and it obviously would have played out. But like I said, the closure on the 1 minute inversion, just, it wasn't great. It was very volatile off open here, so it was, big position sizing, and just wasn't a fan of the closure. It closed way below the inversion, and yeah, I feel like if I remember correctly, it would have torched my risk too. So just chose to fade that for that reason, and the fact that I have a more bullish bias right now. We have changed the state of delivery on the 4 hour, so I'm open to shorts again, but here was just, I don't know, I wasn't super keen on it, and I chose to fade it for that reason. The next trade was literally just the reaction off this, so we traded into one of the 30 minutes that I wanted to see reject off of. It was the last presented 30 minute of this leg up. We had 3 different ones, so that, like I said, that was a reason why I didn't take that short, because I wasn't sure how quickly we'd react off the 30 minute. But again, I could have just went break even super quickly, and I would have anyways. If we're trading into a high time frame gap, I'm going to go break even no matter what, right, on either pair. So yeah, we traded lower, traded into our last presented 30 minute. We put in an SMT at the lows here too, and then it was super weird. I was open to taking a long here. I really was. I wanted to see an inversion, and we got this 5 minute inversion here. But the weird thing is that we wicked into this next 5 minute. And these were sponsored 5 minutes as well, so I wasn't sure what kind of reaction these were going to give me. So I just didn't feel confident enough to enter here. We didn't have any lower time frame inversions in these, in this kind of little range here. It was just choppy, wicky candles that there was no open gaps for us to inverse. So I got this 5 minute inversion, but it wasn't until, we wicked into this next 5 minute fair value gap. So that just wasn't really there for me. It was also a 15 minute gap up here too that we wicked into, so it was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I was almost open to taking continuation shorts here because of that, because of how, we get a sponsored 50 minute. We don't even need that. We got these sponsored 5 minutes. It was just super strong. I honestly was open to taking shorts here, but once we started to pump again and inverse the 15, then I switched my bias back to longs. You guys can see this is the 15 minute I was talking about that we inversed. We pumped right up. There's a massive news candle. Off this 15 minute, I wanted to see us open a 50 minute gap, which we did, but it's kind of, it is very volatile, so it's a weird closure. I wanted to see us trade lower to trade higher, but instead, ES traded into the 15 minute, NQ didn't, because there was still like 50 points here, but we opened up a 5 minute, and we're still trading out of this 30. So it was a supported and sponsored 5 minute. We traded into the 5 minute, and then we got super shitty 3 minute inversion closure. I did not answer because the rejection wick on the 3 minute closure was bigger than the candle body, and it took like 15 minutes to close. So ES was just very hesitant, and then, oh man, I can't believe I don't have a better picture of the trade. But this was it. I literally got wicked out by 2 points and pumped to my take profit. So 2 of the trades would have hit that I faded. 1 would have failed, but the idea was right. This was at all-time highs too. ES was at all-time highs, so there was a big bearish for SMT. Didn't expect that bearish SMT to hold as we're at all-time highs. Super strong draw, right? But I was still cautious of it. There was just too many reasons for me to fade that trade. We were trading through high time frame PD arrays on NQ. ES was at all-time highs. It was, SMTs. We started to slow down quite a bit up here. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for me to fade all these trades, and I'm happy I did, because I was able to just sit through 2 hours of price action and just be patient, not force anything. Yesterday, you guys will see in my breakdown of yesterday, it'll be after this clip, but I forced I didn't force it. It was an A+ setup, A++ setup, but I took not a great trade in the PM session. It was just very emotional. I don't know if I would have entered it if I was, not as emotional as I was. Like I said, very A+ setup, but the way the inversion closed, it was awkward. I honestly, well, you guys will see, sorry. I just want to look at it quick, though, too. Yeah, here it was. So it was like, bro, this was the highest cortisol trade maybe of all time. We were just traded in this 15. First of all, I'm gonna let past me talk about it and continue on with this video. But yeah, that's my trade from Tuesday and today, Thursday. going into Friday, I'm just going to continue to focus on my execution, taking good trades, bro. Right? You guys saw I showed in my last couple of videos that I have my checklist literally all around my monitor as sticky notes now, and it's honestly gone such a long way, man. I'm just focusing on the process, not worrying about the outcome, not worrying about my P&L, not worrying about this, that, or the other. The emotions of my trade yesterday was purely just like the slowness of the market, and that's why I just it's like wanting a dopamine hit, right? But like the market was just so slow. It wasn't because it's because I wanted to trade, but it's because the markets were slow, right? Not like what's an example I could use? Not like a revenge emotion trade, or like a FOMO trade. It's just like I wanted the setup to play out because it was so clean, and the fact that it was taking so long, it was just making me so mad. And I could have got bit in the ass because of that. I'm lucky I didn't. I'm lucky it was such an A+ setup. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, just going into tomorrow, focusing on execution, focusing on my process. The thing I'm most worried about, or like most, no, I don't want to say worried, cognitive of, is executing on my system. Because if I execute on my system, bro, if I execute on what I need to see every day on these charts to extract money, then bro, I did what I could do. I did everything I could do. The market's not always going to play out. I have about a 60% win rate in backtesting. I will say that it was emotional backtesting, but my win rate is about 60% with emotional backtesting. So if I'm, and that would, bro, that's the thing. I haven't backtested in like seriously backtested in over a month. And bro, I feel like I've picked up so much just forward testing this last couple months. So like, who knows what my win rate would be at if I went and did 100 trades again, on FX replay. Who knows what my win rate would be? Like, I think it might even be 80% plus. So bro, I feel very confident with where I'm at, and I just got to continue to focus on executing on my system. That's literally all I can control. And yeah, bro, life's good. Life is great. Business is doing well. Trading is going well. Content's going well. I'm focused, man. I'm motivated. I'm just want this more than ever, bro. And I know it's literally right there. That's the best thing that I like, bro. It's such a reassuring feeling. I've never felt this confident in how close I am, like how real everything is feeling. It's crazy. It's genuinely crazy. Like, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, bro. It's nuts. But yeah, I've just been having some good meditations, and bro, life has just been really, really good. So I'm super thankful for where I'm at. I'm thankful for the position I'm in, and I appreciate whoever's watching this and supporting my videos, man. It goes a long way. And yeah, you guys will see my trade from Wednesday. I don't know, maybe I'll take one tomorrow. If I do, I'll see you guys tomorrow. But if not, hope you guys have a great weekend, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Trade recap, super emotional trade, PM session. Great setup for what it was. It was a good trade in terms of like mechanically. My setup was there. I was very patient waiting for this to form. But ultimately I was just way too emotional taking it, and way too emotional with my entry. Not even my entry, but just emotional waiting for this trade to form. It was super slow, very hesitant. And like I said, I was just way too emotional. And honestly, I probably should have avoided the trade, but I chose to take it just because I felt confident in my draw and liquidity, and I did feel confident we were going to move higher. But bro, just because I feel confident in price going to a certain direction doesn't mean I need to enter a trade, right? So that's my own problem, and just overall, it's something I got to fix. I can't be emotional like that. I can't be getting into trades when I'm that emotional, and I need to find a better way to not act off them, right? But I went through my checklist. I made sure everything was right. I made sure that, I saw the confluences going against me, and I felt comfortable taking a risk. But like I said, just too emotional with the speed of the price, and I feel like that kind of played a role in me taking this trade. I think if I was a little bit more level-headed, I don't know if I would have taken this trade. So, yeah, let's talk about it. So when I got on, we had this 15 down here. All I wanted to see was us pull into this 15-minute gap to push us higher, because earlier in the day, NQ tapped into this 4-hour fair value gap. This was my draw in the morning. I faded a trade that, was shorts to this 4-hour gap here. So we have a huge rejection wick off of it, and then ES was also reacting off of the new week opening gap. So all I wanted to see was us pull back into another high time frame gap in the 15-minute, but we actually formed a 30-minute right after. So I didn't even need, the 4-hour and the new week opening gap to sponsor this 30-minute, but it did anyway. So that just gave me that kind of extra confirmation. And we had no reason to flip back to shorts or have a bearish market structure, because we have zero high time frame for value gaps to react off of here. No 15 minutes, no 30 minutes, and our closest hourly was this one here, which was my target for this trade. ES had a 30-minute to trade into, and then I went break even once ES hit this 30-minute because it hit it a little bit before this 1 hour. But it made sense for me to take this trade and target this hourly gap. I thought that, we had no reason to move lower, and we're protected by that 30-minute. It was a supported 30-minute by the 4-hour and the new week opening gap on ES. And I felt really good about that. But waiting for this to form, we chopped around for almost an hour. I was waiting for this pullback into this 30-minute for almost an hour, and that was tilting me so much. I was getting so upset. We finally opened up this 30-minute, and it literally took ES way too long. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 minutes to close. It took ES 15 minutes to close this inversion. So I was just super frustrated, and I was like, damn, like I really wanted to take this. And once we finally got this inversion, I mean, look at this candle, bro. It's not the best. It definitely isn't the best. But I entered, and it was an emotional entry. I'm going to be the first one to say it. It was an emotional entry, and I'm honestly not super happy with this trade. But like I said, mechanically, the setup was there. Everything in my rule set was there. I identified that, well, one, we had a SMT at these highs. We had an SMT at these highs when I entered. I wasn't worried about that because it was not in a high time frame gap. There's no reason for this SMT really to hold. And then also the other thing that I was kind of cognitive of was we did not stop raid these lows here. We kind of just reacted off of nothing and moved higher off them. But we did have an SMT down here, an external SMT at these lows. So like a little bit low resistance here, but we are already so far into this move that I felt confident with it. So I identified a couple things going against us, and then obviously just this inversion. This inversion took quite a long time to close. It wasn't the cleanest inversion at all, but I just, I felt confident in our bullish market structure. So yeah, we tapped into our 30. We put in an internal SMT in the 30. I don't have it marked out anymore because I had it on NQ. I chart on NQ, take my trades on MNQ. And then, yeah, we got the 3-minute inversion on both pairs. I entered. I didn't bother going break even until ES hit that 30-minute high. I just let this play out. You guys can see I was basically in drawdown the whole trade, and then we just pumped. It took literally one candle to get to my TP. And, yeah, just overall, I'm lucky it was a good setup because I was super emotional, and I probably shouldn't have taken it. I think I had good reason to take it. This inversion, we got the CISD, like it all made sense. We got candle closure above the body highs, like it made sense. Nothing moving us lower, absolutely made sense, but it was just really slow price action, choppy, and I definitely could have got wicked out here, especially on MNQ. So I'm lucky it was a good setup. I'm lucky that, I'm honestly just lucky. So not the most thrilled with this trade, but it played out. I need to journal. I journaled it already. I'm not happy with my emotions, and yeah. Yo, boys, it is Friday, end of the week. Here's my trade recap from today. I don't know if you guys saw my videos earlier, but yeah. Also do want to clarify, these are not executions here. These are not executions. Only the first one was. But every time on Trade C, I try to take a screenshot. It enters me in a short. I turned off hotkeys. I untoggled them, bro. It makes no sense. It's the most frustrating thing ever because I literally have PTSD now from taking screenshots and getting entered into trades. So yeah, these are not executions. These are just screenshots or attempted screenshots. But coming into open, we had all this low resistance liquidity right here, and all I wanted to see us do was to dump, take it out because we had a high time frame P right down here. So I wanted us to trade into this 4-hour to then move us higher. But instead, off open, we pumped up, taking all-time highs again. We opened up this 15-minute, and what I was wanting to see was us trade into this 15-minute to take us higher. I was just going to take continuation longs. But instead, we just dumped right through it, bro. We just dumped right through it. But initially, we had this reaction here. So, I don't know if you guys see this candle right here, but we had a pretty aggressive rejection wick in this 15-minute gap. It was also reacting off this 30-minute gap down here, which was also a 5-minute sponsored gap from a 15-minute pre-market gap. So, literally had every reason to react off of this PDR right here. And we did. We had this nice fat rejection wick on the high time frames, the 15-minute, the 30-minute. It looked really good. It looked really good. We put in a SMT as NQ took the 930 open and ES didn't. So we had an SMT inside of our gaps, inside of our imbalances. And now I was just looking for an inversion off this, which we got. We got this 2-minute IFVG. Looking back, like, I don't hate this inversion, man. I don't hate it. But it is a pretty tight closure. ES closed with a little bit more room to spare. ES actually closed pretty nicely. But NQ kind of just, we inverse this gap by literally like a point or two. I'm on MNQ right now, but on NQ, yeah, we inverse this by like a point or two. So it wasn't like the most, I didn't have the greatest conviction with that IFVG there, but I assessed my risk, bro. I saw what was going for us, what was going against us. I understood that we had this low resistance liquidity down here. And, we had this unfilled 4-hour down here. But I was still willing to put this risk on the table because of how much we were rejecting off these gaps, one. And I just had an overall bullish bias. We're at all-time highs. And, the last few weeks or last couple months, whatever it's been since we've been at all-time highs, these retracements with like the weaker inversions have been playing out nicely, and I've faded them before just because of the same reasons that I saw today, or like similar reasons, and they ended up playing out. So today was basically just a statistical loss, bro. Like I said, we had this low resistance liquidity down here. The inversion wasn't the cleanest. We did not have a low time frame PO3, and that could also be a reason why this failed. I mean, we kind of did on the 1 minute, but my inversion was on the 2 minute, so that 1 minute was insignificant. But yeah, for next time, if I see an aggressive pullback like this, and we have a lot of momentum kind of going against my trade idea and my draw, then instead of just like kind of blindly taking this inversion out of a high time frame PD array, I know we had that sponsored 5-minute, like I said, so it did make sense. But honestly, bro, that 5-minute formed, what was that? It was prior to market open that 5-minute formed, right? I would rather us form another, bullish 5-minute off of this to take a continuation move. And we kind of got that down here. I faded this trade as well because it was a 30-second inversion. But I would have rather taken this trade. I would have rather taken this trade down here where we open up a 5-minute, where we're reacting off something. ES took this low, NQ didn't. But we formed a 5-minute fair value gap out of it. Sponsored gap because we were still trading through this mitigated hourly. Traded into it and then bounced off of it. So, when we have an aggressive pullback like this out of a high time frame PD array, I'd rather just see a sponsored 5-minute form. Or I would rather see a nicer PO3 on the low time frame here. Like, we kind of just, we get a small stop rate here. I wouldn't even consider that really a stop rate because I don't think many people are going to enter off this, wicking this here. But yeah, we raid this stop and then we get the inversion. Like, I would rather see us maybe chop a little bit on this 2-minute, get that manipulation leg, and then get the inversion. That's probably what I would rather see for the future. But like I said, it's a statistical loss, bro. I get good data from this loss, and I'm honestly not upset with it at all, because, bro, I did my job, man. I executed how I'm supposed to. I traded well. I was patient and waiting for the setup. Bro, I did everything that I needed to do on the market today, and I'm gonna die on that hill. If you think it's a bad trade, then fair enough. But I think this was a good setup, good for my model. I've seen this play out a lot in the last couple of weeks. I'm taking this trade probably 10 out of 10 times. But I definitely see the areas that I went wrong. I journaled everything already. You guys can see I journaled all this already. But yeah, bro, I mean, like I said, 9 out of 10 confidence, A+ reversal. This is a good trade. I probably should have just waited for a continuation to form or a low time frame PO3. So yeah, I'm not upset, but yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend. That is the end of week 5 Path to Profitability. A very small red week, But, bro, I traded really well this week, and I'm really happy with how I traded. Just focusing on the process, not worrying about the outcome, just putting in my inputs every single day. One thing I definitely can work on is maybe risk management a bit better. The win that I had on Wednesday, I lowered my position sizing just because it was later in the day and I was kind of emotional getting into that trade, as I mentioned. So that's something I can clean up, is just kind of being a little bit more consistent with my risk. I do like, though, risking down when I'm not as confident in a setup, but at the end of the day, this is an eval. So, I don't know. That's something that I can kind of journal and figure out for myself. But, yeah, dude, I don't know. Really good week for me in terms of my execution and just, patience, following my system, following my rules, going through my checklist, just making sure everything kind of aligned and worked out. And, bro, I can't be upset with what happened. So, hope you guys have a great weekend. And, yeah. Peace.